we are going to answer the question of what is a woman? It's a question that has puzzled leftists for centuries. For centuries it had not puzzled the scientists, but now, because of the left, it is a question that has puzzled them. And we are going to endeavor to answer that. So, let's dive right in. Alright. I was listening to Tim Pool talking about how the left is trying to change the definition of a woman in the dictionary, although I'm not quite sure they've decided what they're going to change it to. One of the definitions they seem to have was a person who menstruates. Now, and Tim mentioned that's unfair because what about women past menopause? Does that mean they're no longer women? So, I mean, that's a completely unfair assessment of what a woman is. Completely unfair. But here's what we're going to do. To figure this out, we are going to reduce what people are to the very basics, to the very basic cells, and I think we'll answer this question. What makes a woman or a man is their chromosomes, what the XX or the XY. That is what makes you, because it reduces you to the smallest, reduces a person to the smallest, tiniest element they can be. And I said, if you take everything else away, the chromosomes are what says man or woman. We'll go with that, regardless of hormones, regardless of stereotypes, regardless. Now, recently I watched a documentary about excavating the bones of the Romanovs. And in it, they found charred bone fragments. And the scientists were able to put the bone fragments in their laboratory and test out the DNA and whatever in the bones. I mean, these bones were crumbly, they were 100 years old, and they were in bad condition. However, there was just enough. The scientists were able to determine the one of the, but it was a different grave near the family's grave. The one was the female, young female, and the other one was a younger male. So they concluded that those two buried in the nearby grave were probably Anastasia and her brother. We don't know which girl it was, but it was a girl and a boy. So, if those scientists could tell who was buried in the grave beside the Romanovs, which original grave was missing two of the kids, if the scientists 100 years later could dig up those bones, and remember, those bones were burned, they had acid poured on them, they tried to destroy every trace of their existence. But 100 years later, the scientists were still able to tell whether the bones were male or female. So therefore, has nothing to do with the hormones, has nothing to do with your interests, has nothing to do with menstruation, has nothing. It's just reducing the human being to their basic cells, and it'll be the chromosome, the XX or the XY. That, my friends, is what makes a woman or a man. It's the chromosomes. Now, I'm sure the leftists will run pell-mell to their scientists to see if there's any way their chromosomes can be altered, because I'm sure it would hurt their dignity if 100 years from now their burned bones were able to be tested and they were able to tell that they were a man or a woman. That would hurt the leftists' feelings. Because for some reason they've chosen to just focus on this so much and focus on stereotypes. But anyway, so that's the answer to what makes a woman. It's the chromosomes or a man. It's the chromosomes. Like I said, if scientists can tell the chromosomes from burned bones 100 years later, it's the chromosomes that makes them. Now, let's go on to fuss about why the leftists like stereotypes. They like to use Victorian stereotypes to and put men and women in boxes, in little boxes, neat boxes. They want to say that men only like hunting, fishing, working in a garage, fighting in wars, and what else? building, construction buildings and the like. And a woman can only like sewing, knitting, cooking, little kids, flowers, puppies, and kittens. And therefore, if a girl likes fishing, she must be a boy. Or if a boy likes sewing, he must be a girl. So this shows the left claims to be progressive, but they are so narrow-minded. I thought these stereotypes went out with the 60s. The stereotypes that your interests have to follow a certain pattern, a certain norm that goes with your sex. Now, to be fair, we'll say that the gender stereotypes have largely been formed over the years because of interests. I mean, yes, it's true that probably 9 out of 10 women like sewing better than they like working on diesel mechanics. And 9 out of 10 guys prefer boxing than prefer cooking. But the point is, we ended those stereotypes, 60 years ago. So the left is still trying to use those old stereotypes as a basis for deciding on genders and stuff. And they're just goofy. They are just goofy. Because these days, men and women are pretty free to have whatever interests they want and to like to do whatever. I mean, of course I'm not terribly talented in mechanics, but I wouldn't mind learning. I love challenges. I mean, I'm still the greatest sewer in the world, but I like to learn. We should not cut off our opportunities and our options for learning just because we're like, I'm a girl, I can't touch a car. I'm a girl, I can't learn to woodwork. Or I'm a boy, I can't learn to knit. Oh. It's ridiculous. These leftists just want to hold everybody back and hold back society. They don't want people to be free to make their own choices because they want to profit off of controversy and division. They want to profit off of racial division, and they want to profit off of sex, and gender divisions. That's all they do, is divide people. And we need to be broad-minded and progressive, which the left is very regressive. And progressive thoughts, like I said, I like filmmaking, but I'm like the 10th girl, because 9 boys, all boys like filmmaking. I have ambition. That's like a boy. Does that mean she needs to be a boy? No, I don't, because I like being a girl. So the leftists need to just stop. Everybody needs to get to know themselves as they are and stop trying to be somebody else. And trying to be somebody else shows there are mental and emotional problems that need to be worked out. For whatever reason, we've got to try to be ourselves. And yes, I do have a lot of male characteristics and interests that might be determined male, but I have a lot of female characteristics too. A lot of stereotypical female characteristics. So just forget about the left. Just enjoy what you want to enjoy, learn what you want to learn, and don't be tied down by Victorian left-wing stereotypes. Please. Okay, guys, you have a great day. Bye. Let freedom ring.